Welcome to episode 248 of the Working Fans Podcast, where today myself and the man called Dave, we have a lot to talk about. But Dave, I don't even have a graphic for this subject, but I was kind of thinking this week with seeing how NXT has been, and I would argue NXT has one of the more stacked women's divisions.
Mm.
But then you look at Raw, you look at Smackdown. I mean, arguably, you could say AEW. But which company or which brand do you think has the most stacked women's division in wrestling right now?
Well, if we're not counting Game Up, the most stacked women's division, I think, would probably be. I mean, I guess I'd go with WWE on a whole. Like what brand though? Oof. I like SmackDown right now. I think honestly, with Bailey, they still got Jade and Bianca on that show as well. You got everything. It's tough. They split it up pretty good. I will have to see how it plays out. But right now, I feel like SmackDown would be.
NXT is amazing right now. You've got Sol Ruka down there.
Mhm.
You've got Lola Vice, who defeated Natalia in that NXT Underground match. Roxanne Perez. You've got. I'm trying to think of that woman that has gone up against Lola Vice. She came out with Natalia.
Oh, Petra something.
Carmen Petrovic, I believe.
Yes, Petrovic.
She's another one that has like an MMA kickboxing background like Lola Vice. So NXT is really good. I'm trying AEW. I mean, you've got Mercedes Moné, Tony Storm, Mariah May. You're bringing in the Japanese talent. Jess here agrees with you that SmackDown is stacked.
NXT's got a lot of talent. The thing is that there's a lot that needs to be presented and polished still. You know what I mean? So it's like it's its own little thing over there right now. Blair Davenport, did she go up to SmackDown too? Are we seeing her on SmackDown soon?
Yes, I believe I know she got pulled to the main roster. I believe it's SmackDown.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see too, because there's going to be people on both brands that are going to be coming up that are going to be interesting. And like I said, I think somebody new from NXT, it might be Blair Davenport, is on. Yep, there you go. And I think she might be in the Queen of the Ring tournament too.
Yeah, I think also you got the TNA Knockouts division with Havoc, Rosemary, Jody Threat, Sue Young when she pops in there, Jordan Grace. So there's a lot of great women's wrestling, and it's weird because it's the more you look at the women's rosters on different brands, the more you see how stacked it is.
What's
Dave,
funny?
Do you know who has?
You can look past and you can argue about other eras of wrestling. Like people will argue this era is the best. People argue the Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression era. The best. You really can't argue with the women right now. This is the best era in women's wrestling ever.
100%. And we're talking about stacked women's divisions, but you brought up the name earlier, and we'd be remiss not to play the commercial of the brand with the most stacked flavor division, and that's Game Up.
If you haven't tried Game Up, then you are missing out. Imagine your favorite seltzer and your favorite sports drink had a baby, but it's way better than that. Each can is 110 calories, low carb, 4.9 ABV. It's a nice light drink that is not light on flavor. Game Up comes in fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and grape. Pick it up at drinkgameup.com or at your nearest liquor store.
And Dave, tonight we are looking forward to more King of the Ring matches because on Monday night we saw the first round of Raw's side of things. Great main event with Gunther and Sheamus. Yeah. We had another wild match with Dragunov and Ricochet. There was one earlier, I believe, that I missed. What did you think of the King of the Ring matches Monday?
I think I told you, I almost want to call it the UK invasion because it's all these great wrestlers from the United Kingdom having these awesome matches. And this would not have happened probably like 2 years ago in WWE, like under Vince, like here's this guy Gunther, we've already seen really shine in the last year or so, a little more now, and Dragunov now getting his opportunity, and he's shining, and it's just great to see. Jey Uso was the other one who advanced. He advanced over Finn Balor in the opening King of the Ring first round matchup. And Jey Uso, I know we're going to probably talk about this a little bit later, but I mean, what a run this guy's on right now. Like when you look at that reception he got in France, where, everybody's throwing their hands up and down, and they got, look, I'm the whitest guy ever, right? And they got like the lights and everything going on. Like it is really, really cool to see this dude taking off. And I'm excited that I wish they had made time for all the matches instead of doing the house shows. Like I'm a little upset we're not getting Kofi Ray, but I'm excited that they're putting such an emphasis on King of the Ring again. It's nice to see that getting like some shine.
Yeah, Jess here is giving her prediction who she'd like to see win King of the Ring. But that main event was great. I had to turn it on when I heard the Dragunov match was on because I wanted to see how he would do against Ricochet. And I mean, that main event was stellar, but Dragunov Ricochet had to be my match of the night, I thought. I'm really liking the lead up because I mean, the pay-per-view's 2 weeks out, I think. Mm-hmm. And they make it feel important. Each week we seem to be getting matches. And tonight on SmackDown, we're going to be getting Randy Orton versus AJ Styles. We're going to get Angelo Dawkins versus Tama Tonga, Bianca Belair versus Candice LeRae, Jade Cargill versus Piper Niven, and Naomi versus Nia Jax. So a stacked SmackDown going into it. And I feel like King of the Ring feels like it means more this year than it has in past years.
I'd like to see them maybe give the winners title shots too, respectively. It could be at the following pay-per-view after this Money in the Bank even, but I'd like to see the King of the Ring get a world title shot and maybe even the same with Queen of the Ring too.
Yeah, that would be great. Another big thing this week, and it was the season finale of our favorite show, or I'll say my favorite show. I don't know if it's necessarily yours, but Dark Side of the Ring. And I had a very similar opinion of this show that you had to the Chris Adams one, that nothing you heard was really new. It didn't break any ground with the story, but it was a very interesting episode. What did you think of this episode, if you even saw it?
I did. Two things stood out. The fact that they got the secretary out there with I don't know if the woman's suffering from like mouth cancer or something, but she had to wear that mask or something. You know what I mean? And
I just assumed it was an old person not knowing how to wear the COVID mask, and she's covering her mouth but not her nose for some reason.
We're both went in different directions there. I thought she was very sick and trying to hold it together. I don't know, but either way. And then the other thing was always Blood Oath reenactment. I just thought it's so great if you haven't seen this, like, especially how to describe it. Like the Briscoes were badasses, and Owie was known to be a badass too. It's like they're both kind of standing their ground, about like in terms of like, do we want to go forward with this? And Owie's like, no, let's agree and we'll do this, or we won't screw each other. This is how we'll do it. And he rips Sophie's forehead. Just tremendous, Yeah, it's an interesting one. I would say it was interesting how they tied it up too with a look at Vince McMahon and his recent troubles. It almost was like it's almost like a perfect little bow, not only on the season, but if they didn't come back and do these anymore, like they could end it there.
Yeah. You gotta feel like they're gonna be doing another season of it. Could we get a Vince McMahon episode possibly somewhere down the line?
I mean, if you're gonna keep coming back, I would think that would be the big thing you would want to do.
I know, speaking of coming back, they're gonna be coming back with Who Killed WCW. It's a mix of the producers of Dark Side of the Ring working with $7 Productions. I want to say it's a 4-part miniseries. It's very interesting. That one, it's another one. I don't know how much new ground they're going to break, but it's going to be another telling of that end of WCW and does kind of fit in with that Vince McMahon taking over the territories thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff you could do with Vince. The thing is, to do it right, you really need a lot of people involved. And I don't know if you're going to get some of those key figures. Like, I would love to see a documentary talking about Vince, not just his detractors, but the people that support him too. I want all those people involved. You know what I mean? I want the people that were against this guy against from day one, but I also want to hear like from Bruce Pritchard. I want everybody. Like, I want to hear these intimate stories and details, and like, you know, let's, because this is a guy that's been around for so many decades at this point. Like, I'd be really, I think I'm just fascinated on this story. And, you know, that's the thing, right? A lot of times when they tell these stories, you get these narratives of people who either are supportive or not supportive, right? I just would love a neutral ground, get all these motherfuckers in here.
Even find a way to tell equal parts, the good parts of the story and the bad parts, because for as many people that you can find that'll say something negative about him, just about as many people have something positive to say.
They do. Although nobody, for the most part, has any positive to say about this recent allegations. Like, this is pretty bad, obviously.
No, thankfully, that is kind of evened out the playing field. And WWE has not only evened out the playing field, but they have really gone to another level with their premium live events. Like, kind of when you look at them compared to AEW. And this was another premium live event last weekend that took place in France. I think you've seen more of it than myself. What did you think of it? And let's get some thoughts on Backlash.
All right. So, I mean, the big factor here is, for anyone who hasn't seen this and you want to see this, it's the crowd. This crowd is absolutely insane. There's good matches. It's not a show. I mean, we had new women's tag team champions crown with Jade and Bianca, and we obviously had the debut of Tonga Loa. But other than that, I wouldn't say it's a show that you have to see, like anything else like really broke here. But it was a fun show, great matches. But this crowd was absolutely the most insane crowd. And I'll give you an example. For me, and Just knows what we're talking about here. France crowd was wild. I think that like Randy Orton over the years, like he hasn't been necessary. Like I like Randy, but over the years, I thought his character got a little stale. Now I've really enjoyed this recent run, probably a little more than other ones with Randy. But this crowd made me feel like Randy Orton was like the most special motherfucker there was. Like they were just singing all the words to his song, which I've never heard before. You know, like he's not got one of those songs that, you know, like Cody or, you know, Jericho at AEW. Everybody, we're used to that. Like this was something I wasn't used to. They were screaming it, you know. They were absolutely insane for Jey Uso. And, you know, Cody as well. Cody as well got this huge ovation. And they were singing his music right after it shut off. So, if anything, I guess what I really would have to say is Backlash, as Jess would say, was wild. The France crowd was wild. And I really hope that this is a sign of like more events that we get overseas, because quite frankly, these European fans are killing us.
Yeah, especially when you go to a market that hasn't had a pay-per-view in a while. And especially, you know, in Europe, they don't get WWE shows as often. So getting over there, getting those big responses. We saw it in Puerto Rico. We saw it in France. I'm sure we're going to see it in Germany when they go there. We're going to see it in Scotland, Glasgow, when they go there. So, and I've heard a few of the next premium live events are overseas. The Saudi crowd is what it is, but that is just like another spectacle show.
Yeah.
But WWE is really on a streak with these live events.
There is talk that Saudi shows, they want to get a bigger show over there. They want to get a Royal Rumble or even a WrestleMania. I don't think they're going to WrestleMania personally. You never know. But I think they're going to pay for a Royal Rumble, a Survivor Series, or SummerSlam. And we're going to get something big over there too. And I guess that's their thing. Like they're taking over in boxing and even MMA now too. And they want to make Saudi Arabia like a tourist attraction. So don't be surprised if we see a lot of crowd, maybe people migrating over there.
100%. Now, Dave, a segment I had planned for this week, but we're going to have to do it another week. I was going to do a wrestler spotlight on Wes Lee, but I have enough other research to do for some of the many interviews we have coming up that I wanted to put this off. But the reason I selected Wes Lee as a spotlight that I wanted to do is because we just saw his return to NXT. Did you get to check NXT out this week?
A little bit. I saw Wes Lee. I saw him back, and it's quite the story when you think about like how he had that cane the last time we saw him, and like the pain he was in just to stand in the ring that he was talking about, like the hype package that they had for him going into this match really made you kind of get behind this guy. And I know that you had this in your back pocket a little bit, and he got me thinking, this guy did his run as from the Rascals and TNA and the independent circuit, and just seeing what he's doing now as a former North American champion in NXT and on his way back. It's pretty cool. I don't know what the ceiling is on a Wes Lee, but it's pretty cool to see how far he's come.
Yeah, because you have him coming up from TNA, like you said, with the Rascals, came here with Zachary Wentz. Wentz had that trouble, leaves WWE. Wes Lee is able to break out as a singles competitor, is on that rise, gets that North American title, and then gets injured. And you had to wonder, does that derail his career much at all? Like, what can it do? We see him come back, get featured big. That was a great match versus Josh Briggs on Tuesday. And you got to feel like he's going to be going back for that North American title. So hopefully next week I can do some research on him and we'll talk about kind of more of the rise of him. But when you're talking about rise, we are at the top point of the show. We are talking better big men, Big Show, Yokozuna, another one of our very popular shorts that was out there. Week to week, I just go for what's the next highest rated short and pick it out. And you think about this at first, and it almost seems like a slam dunk with Yokozuna based on his size and how quick he was versus the weight.
Yeah.
But then you have the modern day giant and Paul White, who was an athlete coming into wrestling. Early years in the ring, could do way more than sometimes they gave him to do. So, we might not have even seen how athletic Paul White could be in a ring.
Go back and watch his early WCW stuff as the Giant, where they put the world title first year, though. There are matches where he does a nip up. There are matches where he does a drop kick off the top rope. Supposedly, this man can do a moonsault too. I can't remember if I've seen that or not. I mean, but I've seen him take a perfect plex. So, he could definitely move and bump way more than Yoko, but Yoko had all that extra weight too. So, different body type, obviously. Yoko could really move. For someone with that body type, like the way he could catch an opponent, hit him with a belly to belly, the leg drop, the super kicks, incredible athlete as well. And success wise, Yoko, former WWE World Champion, defeated Hulk Hogan. Big Show, he's defeated Hulk Hogan, right? He was a WCW World Champion and a WWE World Champion. So for me, I'd give it to Big Show in terms of better all-around in ring, just because of the stuff he was capable of doing. But it could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I still think my pick's got to be Yoko just because of how he could move given the size. And I mean, similar to Andre the Giant, Yoko just kind of kept on growing.
Yeah. It's too bad we never got this matchup. This probably would have been a fun matchup. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it from Big Show. He did have a WrestleMania sumo match. Not a train sumo, but, we could have gotten some kind of gimmick match like that. Now, we've covered everything we were planning on talking about this week, but we didn't talk too much before the show. So is there any other wrestling stuff from the week you wanted to get into?
It was a very busy week for me. So I had to cram in a lot of wrestling this week. This weekend, I'm looking just to get through too, but I'm excited about the future of wrestling. Let's just say that. Maybe not so much this week, but as we're talking about this, and you're talking about the Saudi Arabia show coming up, and I think Money in the Bank coming after that, and I think of what AEW's got coming up with Double or Nothing, and I think of all right, yeah, there's one thing I want to talk about. Speaking of AEW, Tommy Billington. Tommy Billington, the Dynamite Kid's nephew, will be wrestling tomorrow night against Dax Harwood. I'm excited to see this kid who looks exactly like the Dynamite Kid. What about you?
I'm excited for this matchup. It wasn't too long ago that I don't know if it's Tommy and his brother are they came to MLW as a tag team. They've done runs on the indies as the British Bulldogs, but this is going to be the biggest featured spot we've seen him in. So I'm very excited for it. I'm like 50-50 on if I want AEW to sign them, because I would love them to bring in this tag team and feature them. But we've seen with some new AEW hires, you get brought in, you get featured for a minute, and then you kind of disappear. So that's my big worry. I think the best thing he could do right now is just show out big in this match and possibly not sign. So that way he's, I don't know. So there's more intrigue to him.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting because I believe AEW does have the Von Erichs on their roster right now, and maybe they're doing more Ring of Honor stuff. I haven't seen much of them, so that's kind of a letdown. But it would be cool to think the Von Erichs and this version of the Bulldogs could be on the same show.
That would be great. Yeah, I haven't heard if the Von Erichs are signed. They definitely make appearances with AEW when they come through the area, and they have appeared some on Ring of Honor, so I'm going to have to keep a closer eye on that. Another thing coming out of Backlash is we didn't get the Samoan debut that we necessarily anticipated. Right. What do you think of the Tongaloa signing with WWE? Does it give more or less intrigue to Jacob Fatu?
It depends on how you want to look at it. I mean, for me, it's a little bonus because I didn't see Tongaloa because nothing was heard about Tongaloa. So I wasn't really thinking about that. So for me, it was a nice little surprise, and it's just pushing off. We know we're getting Jacob Fatu. So, let's build it up. So I guess a little more intrigue, there's a little more of that anticipation because it's that wait. So when are we going to see Jacob Fatu? Maybe the Saudi Arabia show, right? Maybe this is we keep building until we get to SummerSlam, and maybe we get The Rock, right?
That would be wild. Yeah, like I didn't see this coming either. And now that we've get GOD possibly reuniting in WWE, it makes that bloodline versus bloodline story that much more interesting. And Dave, if you want to talk about stories that are interesting, there's one place you got to go.
Tell me about it.
All you got some wrestling fans out there, listen, old black Bart has got a book. It's called Wrestle. Black Bart. It's got some dead good stories in there about some dead good wrestlers.
Read stories of Dusty Rhodes, the Von Erichs, Scott Casey, Sergeant Slaughter, Roddy Piper, Mr. Fuji, Ron Bass, Bruiser Brody, Mike Davis, the Grappler, and many others.
And I guarantee you one thing. That it'll be the best dadgum read you've had in a long time.
Get your book today at Russellville.com or on Amazon. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.
Read about the Northern Wrestling Federation in the book presented by Russellville.com, The Pro Wrestling Vault, Volume 2. Hear the story of Roger Ruffin, the man who trained Carl Anderson, the Monster Abyss, Jordan Clearwater, Chris Harrison, Jillian Hall.
Plus 45 other short stories, including Jazz, Bobby Eaton, Kamala, Thunder Rosa, Mario Mancini, Scott Casey, PJ Black, Kerry Morton, Sal Renaro, Jeremiah Plunkett, Colby Carino, Bam Bam Malone, and many others.
Get your book today at Russellville.com. Russellville. It's where wrestling lives.